Perfect. Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Damian Kocjancic from the EASA DOA department. I'm also making a flight test-related presentation to you this morning, but in this particular case, it's regarding flight conditions for production flight tests. Just to give you a little bit of background on this activity, as Gregory mentioned in his remarks earlier this morning, this was one of the tasks or areas that the AG005 industry counterparts indicated that they were seeking further clarification and guidance on this particular topic, and the production of this FAQ is like a first step in addressing those concerns or trying to give that further guidance and explanation that the industry was seeking. Can I do this? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay. Okay, so just to give a bit of a background on the relevant regulation, which is 21A710. Again, it was a long phrases to be using here, which unfortunately I can't avoid. But as you can see here, there's two types of flight conditions which are identified in the regulation. We have ones which are related to the safety of the design and those which are not related to the safety of the design. Okay, and in the first case there, we see that the approval of such flight conditions which are related to the safety of design, they need to be approved by the agency or by a design organisation holding a DOA with the 21A263C6 privilege. So just to recap, when you have flight conditions related to safety of design, it has to be approved by the agency or an appropriately approved DOA holder with the relevant scope. And for the other kind of flight conditions which are not related to the safety of design, they can be approved by a competent authority or some other kind of appropriately approved organisation. And that often can be a case, it could be something like a CAMO or a POA holder. Okay, so it's just to highlight that we've got two types of flight conditions. And then supporting this regulation, we have some GM, of course. And again, it sort of expands a little bit further as to what sort of typical flight conditions are related to the safety of design and those which are not. So you can certainly see at the item there, it refers to production flight testing, and you may have the impression that, okay, for production flight testing, it's always a case of being not related to the safety of design and the flight conditions then approved appropriately. But we know in the reality that's not quite the case with newly produced aircraft. And to try and again address a couple of possible confusions that we've seen in previous years amongst DOA holders, we've produced an FAQ just to give some further guidance and direction over and above what we have in this GM for 710. Okay, just to talk a little bit about the DOA FAQ page. You can see there's the reference there for the page there. Gives them, again, as I mentioned, of some further guidance and advice, clarifications and so forth on a number of Part 21 topics. And this topic regarding flight conditions for production flight tests is the latest entry there. Okay, so the thing is here, we realised that when we were working with our industry counterparts on producing this FAQ, the practical reality is that for any newly produced aircraft, it usually has some kind of unapproved elements to it, concessions or other types of changes to type design yet to be approved. And therefore, not necessarily in contrast or in contradiction to the guidance in the GM, the fact is that in this case, the flight conditions required to be approved are related to the safety of design, and therefore they need to be approved by under the DOA there. And as part of the work in producing this FAQ, we also realised the fact that at a TC holder, at a manufacturer, the team, the entity within the organisation responsible for analysing and producing and approving the flight conditions, they're usually the same kind of team, whether they're doing it under their DOA or POA. So the FAQ that we've produced was to try and address this aspect that in practical circumstances, the flight conditions we're talking about are related to the safety of design, and that also in the organisation as well, it's the same people who would be working on analysing and defining and then approving those conditions, whether related to the safety of design or not. Okay, so the two key points we have in the FAQ, the first one is here. Okay, so we've got an aircraft that's newly produced. It has some non-conforming elements to it, but you could say 90% of the aircraft is conforming. And some of the confusion we've seen in recent years is that, well, okay, do I need some applicants or TC holders, manufacturers thinking, well, do I need to have two sets of flight conditions approved? Yeah, one under the DOA for the non-conforming parts of the aircraft, and another set to address the conforming part of the aircraft. And certainly, we've seen that sort of kind of confusion in the past. Some cases we had like findings being raised. And I think just to now sort of really clarify the situation, we want to say that, for these kind of production flight tests for an aircraft which has some non-conformities to it, we want to clarify and emphasize that we only need one set of flight conditions to be approved for this situation here. And of course, being flight conditions related to the safety of design, that approval needs to be performed under the DOA. So I just want to highlight here that when we have a situation of an aircraft which contains some non-conformities, a newly produced aircraft, we only need one set of flight conditions approved, and those to be approved under the DOA. So that's the first element there we want to highlight and clarify with this FAQ item. And then the second point we try to, or at least describe or elaborate the kind of flexibility which is possible. Certainly for a newly produced aircraft, there's usually like a number of flight tests which need to be produced as part of that process there. And again, we had some problems in the past or issues in the past where some interpretations of this way of working with it for each individual flight, we needed a new set of flight conditions approved, even if the physical configuration of the aircraft was staying largely unchanged. And obviously all the bureaucratic burden and delay that's associated with that. So the second part of the FAQ we want to highlight as well is that there is the possibility to define and approve an envelope of flight conditions to cover all the flights necessary as part of that activity regarding a newly produced aircraft there. So we just want to say that it's not necessary to have a fresh set of FCs approved for every flight. We can have a predefined or predetermined, or shall we say pre-approved envelope of flight conditions to cover all the flights necessary. And indeed, these flight conditions can remain valid, providing that between each flight, there's actually no change to the physical configuration of the aircraft. The only sort of changes what we foresee with this envelope system can be used is when the approval status of the recently non-conforming elements of the aircraft are eventually becoming approved. So I guess there's no physical change to the aircraft during the course of these flight tests, but what is changing is or what is evolving is the approval status of those initial non-conforming items to eventually becoming fully approved during the course of the flight test activity. Also, on the other hand, though, contrary to highlight this point, that if there are some changes to the physical configuration of the aircraft during that time, we want to point out that obviously one of the circumstances or consequences of that would be that the limitations or conditions may change, and therefore the FCs are very likely to need to be reassessed and possibly reissued. So I just wanted to highlight the fact that this is an FAQ we've produced in cooperation with our industry colleagues to address one of the sort of the key items that was identified through the AG005 group during the course of last year. And as a first step of addressing those concerns, we've reduced this FAQ, covering these two elements there, and also hopefully be sort of avoid any confusion in the future, needless burden or repetition in the issue of flight conditions for this activity, and again to try and, like I say, at least as a first step to address and sort of make, address those concerns or comments that we received through the AG005 group on this topic. Okay, so that brings me to the end of the presentation. Yeah.
So we are going over to Slido for the questions about your presentation.
Okay.
Share.
Yes, we can just
Drops down.
Oops. Sorry. You doesn't see the application here. So, Damian, from Iran, can a DOA issue flight condition approval based on an NTO received from OEM, Boeing, Airbus, for instance?
Shall I take that, or do you have any sort of comments there? Well, look, I mean, based on an NTO, I guess typically we use NTOs as like an input to the design process, whether it's like for a design change or in this case issuing flight conditions there as well. I guess, you know, the NTO could be used as a technical input to the definition of those flight conditions, but ultimately the DOA holder has to be responsible for defining and approving those flight conditions. So, like I say, I would just say that an NTO could be used as a valid input, but in terms of the responsibility, that still remains with the DOA holder in terms of like defining a safe and valid set of flight conditions and then approving them. Okay. Let's go back to Damian also.
So we have a second question from Matthias. Could you please clarify that DOAs may also an appropriate approved organization to approve FC not related to the design? Issue, I guess, may also issue an appropriate approved organization.
Yeah, I'll answer because you sent. Yeah, okay. Just need to read it once more to fully understand the question. Could you please go do it? Not related to design.
Matthias, you have a microphone. If you wish, you can ask your question through the microphone again as well, if you wish. Just be aware there is a button below the microphone to activate it.
Okay. Okay. Oh, otherwise, I think I have all the.
Okay. So, Damian, do you have an answer for that?
Okay, so this is why it's a little bit of a complicated topic, this whole topic of flight conditions, because we talk about some of the privileges in subpart J and some of the processes in subpart P. And of course, Matthias here is referencing 263C7 and also the 17B as well. So the stage at this time is that, you know, DOA holders only get privileges to issue FCs against 263C6, that's right. And therefore, flight conditions related to the safety design. So the only thing that a DOA holder can do at this time under 263C6 is to approve flight conditions which are related to the safety of design. So that's the current state of play vis-a-vis DOA. And then that second point that Matthias was mentioning there about the coming to the issue of the P2F. So that then comes to the other part in subpart J, which is 263C7. And then the whole criteria around this regulation is that you can only be issuing a P2F if you're controlling the configuration of the aircraft. So, like I say, if the DOA holder can satisfy those criteria in 263C7, they can issue the PTF. But for the practical relators, if it's more like the production organization or under the POA auspices, that the configuration control of the test aircraft is being assured and so forth, and it's 163G, which is the relevant reference then in that case, the P2F has to be issued under the POA. So, but it is a very good question, Matthias answers there, because it is a bit of a interplay between subpart P and subpart J, and believe you me, this is something we discussed quite a lot during the course of our discussions last year to make sure we got everything right in terms of the, relevant inputs from subpart J and the relevant inputs from subpart P. Okay.
So second question from Alain. Why to limit reassessment of FC to physical configuration change and not to extend to software configuration change?
Okay, look, I think it's sorry? Yeah, it's a fair. Yeah, absolutely. That's correct. Okay, look, possibly physical was not the best word to use, to be quite frank. Perhaps I should have just used a design change to the aircraft, approved or unapproved. That's probably what I was trying to say there. Between the configuration of the aircraft, which remains, shall we say, static, whether it's electronic or physical, during the course of those production flight tests. So physical is probably, yeah, that's a good point he's making. But before I make that presentation this afternoon, I may change that word. I'll just use the words configuration for the aircraft, and they could be both physical, electronic. I guess the point I was trying to make was that, yeah, if there is no change to the configuration of the aircraft, and the only thing which is changing is the evolution of the approval of those originally non-conforming elements, then that envelope of flight conditions can remain valid. So, yeah, that's a fair question. Yeah, physical is probably not the very best word to use there.